Welcome back to Multiversal Studios. A lot of you guys know Duke Devlin from this.
Dungeon Dice Monsters uses dice!
Or you know him as a side character who dueled Yugi in Dungeon Dice Monsters that one time and lost. But for those who actually read the manga, we know that this character has a much deeper character potential and actually has a great story arc. Duke is perfectly set up to be that villain who turned into a friend. However, this video will dive into Duke's storyline that was told in the manga so we can appreciate what Duke's character could have been but kind of failed at being in the anime. Now the chapter starts with a new game shop being introduced, which, similar to the anime adaptation, was new competition to Grandpa Moto's game shop, basically putting him out of business. I mean, who would go to a rundown game shop when we have a huge new mega store called the Black Clown? Now, what I love about the manga is they really hype up Duke Devlin's skill level. There is a lot of foreshadowing regarding a genius game designer who makes and sells their own games, something I feel like the anime didn't really do justice. They usually focus on his ability to impress girls or his arrogant nature rather than his own genius. Now, it's also very ironic since everything Duke is described as is also a dream of Yugi's, who also wants to be a game designer when he's older. So already I feel like the rivalry between the two is very clear. Now it also shows a scene of Duke speaking to his father, who is dressed like a clown. Duke swears revenge on the Moto family as Yugi's grandpa was the reason Duke's father is forced to wear the clown mask in public. Now this is where it gets interesting. Duke's father says, "I raised you to take revenge for me." Now we can already gather what kind of relationship they have based on that one sentence. His father probably spent Duke's entire childhood passing on his own hatred and bitterness onto Duke, which I can imagine is a terrible childhood on Duke's end. So we can also see Duke's conviction to defeat Yugi and take his title of King of Games, almost like their father's generational issues and problems had been passed down to Yugi and Duke, who are technically innocent from all this drama. Now again, similar to the anime, Duke enrolled in the high school and immediately clashed with Joey. Now in the anime, Joey and Duke ended up dueling and Joey loses the duel, which in my opinion was completely unnecessary. Joey had just become the runner-up in the Duelist Kingdom tournament and then lost to a random nobody who was introduced 10 minutes prior to this episode. However, in the manga, Joey simply loses in a cup and dice game and a classic card game, which in my opinion is totally fine, since Duke used what seemed like good old-fashioned trickery, which doesn't tarnish Joey's dueling career. Now due to Joey losing, he becomes Duke's dog for a week, but thanks to Yugi, he is immediately rescued, and Joey doesn't have to go through the embarrassment of actually dressing like a dog like he did in the anime. Now Yugi beats Duke in the same card game Duke used on Joey. Now the next day, for the grand opening of the Black Clown game shop, a new game had been said to have released, which was the Dungeon Dice Monsters game. However, as Yugi was waiting in line to enter the store, he had no idea that Duke actually owned the store and was the designer of the game. This is also when we see Duke telling his father that he lost to Yugi at school. This led to his father slapping Duke in the face, which again really hones in on Duke's childhood, since Duke says, "I have taken on your sadness and anger," which again highlights what Duke has been through via his father. Now whilst Yugi enters the Black Clown shop, he gets called away by the security for shoplifting, even though he was framed. Duke's father then takes away Yugi's Millennium Puzzle, and Yugi is sent into a room where he faces Duke Devlin in a game of Dungeon Dice Monsters. Now due to the Millennium Puzzle being taken away, Yugi is left alone without the spirit, which is completely different to the anime, as in the anime, it's actually a Tem that faces Duke Devlin. But what is similar to the anime is that Yugi is completely new to the game and he is learning as he is playing. The only issue being, Duke has a gigantic head start and manages to build a pathway to Yugi's heart points, while Yugi is still struggling to summon a single monster. Now during the duel, Duke opens up about his past. He tells Yugi how his father was an apprentice for Yugi's grandfather, and when his father challenged Yugi's grandfather to a duel as he seeked the power of the Millennium Puzzle, Duke's father lost in a game called the Devil's Board Game and was disfigured due to the Shadow Game, and ever since that day he's held a grudge against the Moto family. Now even without the spirit of the Millennium Puzzle, Yugi does impressively well, showing Duke that even without the puzzle, Yugi is a formidable opponent. Now this is a great moment, as in the anime, Yugi is totally reliant on Atem. However, in the manga, Yugi starts to prove to himself and to others that he can handle himself. Duke even says that he isn't surprised that Yugi solved the Millennium Puzzle, and that he was wrong about Yugi being a timid little kid. However, similar to the anime, it gets to the point where Duke traps Yugi, and Yugi can no longer advance his board, as it's blocked by Duke's board. Now, Yugi uses a rare black dice with the Strike Ninja, and instead uses the portal in order to skip past Duke's monsters. Now this is where Yugi starts to get the upper hand. However, with Duke's father seeing this, he bursts into the room and destroys the Millennium Puzzle in order to break Yugi's spirit. However, this is also where we get to see a turn in Duke's character development, as Duke actually helps Yugi pick up the pieces of the Millennium Puzzle and even apologizes to Yugi for his father's behavior. This was a breaking point to show that Duke was actually a decent person. It was just the 16 years of his father's abuse which made him how he was. Now the next scene is why I love the Yu-Gi-Oh manga version of events over what happened in the anime. Yugi was about to lose to Duke's Orgot the Relentless, which was coming for Yugi's last heart point. However, Yami Bikoro enters the room. You see, Bikoro needs Yugi to keep the Millennium Puzzle in order for his future plans to come to fruition. So Yami Bikoro and Yugi, who are literally ancient rivals, join the same team in order to defeat Duke Devlin. Now, with Duke nearly winning, Duke attempts to solve the Millennium Puzzle in order to prove that he is the real king of games. However, the pieces wouldn't connect for him, as Bikoro states only Yugi could solve the Millennium Puzzle. Now with Bikoro's support, Yugi managed to defeat Duke at his own game. However, this wasn't the end. Duke's father takes the Millennium Puzzle and threatens to break Yugi's neck if Yugi didn't follow him. And even after Duke attempted to defend Yugi, his father told Duke that he was no longer his son due to the fact that he lost to Yugi. Duke's father takes Yugi into a secret room where a board game rested in the middle, which was the Devil's board game, the same game that Grandpa Moto used to defeat him in the past and took 50 years of his life. However, Duke's father attempted to solve the Millennium Puzzle, but what occurred was something completely different. As Duke's father was unworthy, he fell into a shadow game conjured by the Millennium Puzzle called the Labyrinth Maze, where his mind gets stuck in the maze inside the Millennium Puzzle. However, whilst he's struggling, a candle is knocked over and the entire building is in flames. However, Duke and his father escape from the building safe and sound. However, it was Yugi who had helped Duke's father escape, and he finally realizes that he was in the wrong for seeking revenge on Yugi this entire time. Now this is the end of Duke's story in the manga. However, I think this is a perfect way to build a friendship / rivalry between the two characters. Duke has the foundation for a much stronger bond and character than we get to see in the anime. He could probably even be a fan favorite. What do you guys think about Duke Devlin? Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time.